Comedy legend Frank Skinner is back on stage with his first stand-up show in 4 years.
I think a man of my age saying my girlfriend is sort of on a level with a man of my age saying my skateboard.
Live in London this June, at the Edinburgh Festival in August, and touring across the country this autumn.
It's what I would call an Elton John joke. It's a little bit funny.
Book tickets now at frankskinnerlive.com.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This, however, is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, or email the show via the Absolute Radio website. You choose. Good morning.
Morning.
Peter. Morning, Jim.
Morning, Richie.
I don't want to sound like I've been carrying a point to make for a whole week, but do you remember last week I said that
Just a week, you say?
I felt like I should have got some kind of celebration for making it to the end of a debit card.
Oh, yeah.
It had lasted me the full 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
Just at the end of last week's show, somebody texted, "Hey guys, I've never made it to the end of a debit card either. I sit on my wallet daily and they almost always break. Simon from Bazchurch." But I've never had a broken one. I just wanted to make it clear that I was losing them.
He sits on his wallet daily, so you should ring him, because he'd be a nice day for you.
I think I walked into that one.
I never sit on my wallet. I don't like heights. Ah, my goodness me.
Oh.
Got any Tommy Coccyx?
No, it's breakfast radio.
Could I,
It's all right, you can mention
Can I share an
the
unusual...
tailbone.
Mm-hmm.
Could you take your hand out of there?
Yeah.
It's itchy.
Okay, well, I know, but
Give
that's
it
no
a rinse
excuse.
and let's get on with the show, yeah?
I've got an unusual missive I'd like to share with you. It's called Cautious Band Request. That's the subject line.
I like I like it as a title.
Okay. Well, let me share it. It's not specifically intended for us. It's directed to High Absolute !
Okay, well, we are Absolute.
Hi.
At this moment, we represent Absolute Radio.
I like the idea that
Frightening.
it's somebody requesting a band that aren't that rock and roll. It's a cautious band request.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Let's find out.
This is what's within it. Hi, Absolute. For a while, I've wanted to request a band, as I've definitely not heard them on the radio for years.
Okay.
So I'd love to request them, but not sure
Is it the Joe Loss Orchestra?
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. There they are. Sorry, carry on.
But not sure if they aren't played as they aren't absolute criteria or they just got overlooked. And sometimes I hear someone asking for something and being shot down.
Wow, really? We do that, I think.
I think we need some sad music. And so I've been nervous.
Do you want some of that?
Well, I
Hold
think
on.
we should have something that
Okay, go
sort
on.
of...
Here we go.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
Keep going.
That's actually
I hear someone
perfect.
being shot down, so I've been nervous to ask. Please don't mention it on air if I'm totally wrong. Too late. And whilst this band is pop, they do have that rock edge, and everyone loves them. In brackets, I think.
Okay.
Shakespeare's Sister? Exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark, any song. Please let me know if it's worth mentioning. Massive thank you in advance for any reply. That's from Sean.
Well, Sean, for a start off, I'm amazed that people still do requests to
Yeah.
a radio show. In the age where you can just go on your phone and listen to it, it does remind me a bit of... I was talking to someone... I was at a picnic last night celebrating the summer solstice. We probably all were.
Oh, yeah.
And I was talking to someone about dial-a-disc. And I've mentioned it on here before.
160.
When you used to go into a phone box... Well, I mean,
we
some
had our
people-
own phone,
You had
actually.
your own phone. You were one of those. I didn't. There's one woman,
That makes it
Mrs.
seem like decadent. Sort of, we had a
How
phone.
the other half live.
There was just Mrs. Morgan in our road who had a phone. So if anyone had an emergency, they'd go and knock on Mrs. Morgan's house. Sometimes Evelyn would answer.
Oh.
But anyway,
Not clears.
so you could phone up and you wouldn't even pick your song. You would get a song from the top 10 chosen at random because
Yeah.
people were so desperate to hear music. But now it's all over your phone. Why do people even request anymore?
Well, I think they like the connection.
Yeah.
I mean, we should see. I mean, what are your views on Shakespeare's sister? Really,
Can I say,
absolute-
is it Sean who wrote this?
This is Sean.
It sounds very beyond humble.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
hashtag
mean,
humble.
it's the most preamble to a request I think I've ever heard. I really wish. I can tell you a story about Shakespeare's sister, but I'm afraid, Sean, it'll have to be after these messages.
Okay.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
So we were talking about Sean.
Oh, yeah, so
Who got
I-
in touch about
Shakespeare's
Shakespeare's
sister.
sister.
Yeah, so I was doing a Radio 2 show. I think I was doing Steve Wright in the afternoon.
Oh, were you?
Hello.
And there's like a waiting room when you get to Radio 2. And there's a piano as
yes.
played by Sir Elton John. There's a little plaque on it.
Yeah.
All right.
So you're sitting there waiting, and you're always liable to meet somebody interesting. So there was a woman sitting next to me, opposite me, and she looked very much like... oh, God, I'm not going to be able to remember her name now. The woman from Shakespeare's Sister's got like an American...
Siobhan,
No.
Mariella or Margella.
No,
Her name
it's
is
but the
Good
surname
knowledge.
is something like
Margiela.
Illinois or something. It's an American
Okay,
surname.
but the first name is Margiela, I think.
I don't think it is it?
Okay, we can find it.
Oh,
out.
I'll tell you what, we will find it out.
No,
because our switchboard is
Detroit,
about to
Marcella
light up.
Detroit.
Marcella.
Marcella Detroit.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
Yeah. And so, isn't it great when it comes to you?
Mm-hmm.
So
I was
thought,
very far off with Margella, obviously.
well, I'm
One
sorry.
consonant.
I'm sorry,
I
but
don't think
you'll
it
sit
is.
as a line on one side of someone's name. If you called her Margiela, would she have been all right with it?
Yeah, she'd been fine.
She'd have been furious.
She'd be fine.
So anyway, she was sitting there, and I thought, I really think this is Marcella Detroit, but I'm not. So I started talking to her, and she's nice, and she said, "Yeah, I'm in a band. We're plugging an album." But what I didn't understand is that it unfolded. She said they call it. I said, "Yeah, you're Shakespeare's sister, aren't you?" I thought I'm going to go for it, and then she started to, and then Siobhan emerged. So she'd been doing the interview,
Oh.
but Marcella hadn't gone in. So I was a bit... You know, when you go to a dental, say a medical appointment, and you're with your partner, and there's that moment, do I wait outside stuff? But I thought it was odd that she wasn't in.
Is she? Does she not do the press? Is it a bit like those magicians double acts where one of them
It
doesn't
would-
speak?
I
and
know,
the
but
other
why
does all
would
the
you go?
talking?
It would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
like if you saw David, if you were standing outside the studio while David was in there doing the interview.
It would be strange.
Perhaps they both get paid hourly, and the one that turns up to do the press.
Perhaps they take it in
Is that
turns.
one-
I hate doing press, and they take it in
Yes.
turns.
You
Like-
can't have two goth. You
Makes
get one
sense.
goth or only. One
Yeah.
goth at a time,
They must be
only
able to get
allowed
two
in this
goths.
shop.
Surely they can get two goths in one studio.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then,
You'd think.
I've seen two on the same bench in a village.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she was very nice. I liked her. She was much more down to earth. But I said it's a cool band to request, Sean.
And also, Sean, you know what? You have the right to ask.
Totally.
You don't need all these softeners. It's okay.
But my tip is don't do requests on the radio. It's
Okay.
obsolete as a convention. Just if you think I'd love to hear Shakespeare's sister, I'll tell you what, I'll Google Shakespeare's sister and then I'll be able to listen
Well,
to
I
them.
know, but
Yeah, yeah.
absolute. Well, in fact, they may not like that.
They
No,
don't
they
do
might not.
requests,
Oh,
do
do they
I
not?
think they do on
Yeah,
other
they
shows.
do. They have. I think
Do
on the
they?
request show, maybe they do it.
And I think we've
Is
got
there
a
a
VIP
request?
status.
I believe so.
'cause of the-
Yes, there is a request show, Frank.
Okay, well, that's different.
You know, we bring high-level comedy. That's
that's
our
different.
thing.
That's, how do people phone in if they don't have mobile phones? Landline. Remember, on your landline today. I'm sure it's brilliant. I wish I'd said that with more sincerity. You see, I suppose what one could argue, I've got to dig my way out of this, is that it's nice, you are sort of putting your name to that band, I suppose.
Yes.
So you're saying, yeah, I'm officially someone who likes this band.
Yes. I'd say that's
Come
true.
on, it's obsolete. It's like the knowledge.
Oh,
it's like doing the
goodness
knowledge.
me.
You know, the sat-nav, stop it.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
398 has texted, I think potentially somewhat overreacting. It makes me feel ill when Frank plugs the competition, the Beeb, Spotify, YouTube, Google. Does he not realise the threat they pose to his station? Perhaps I'm more commercially minded than Frank, albeit a great deal poorer.
Oh, that's Paul, our boss.
Yeah. Well, look, they ain't got what we got.
I just like the melodrama of it. Makes me feel ill. It's a bit like receiving a text from you, Emily. Like, it's just that kind of...
I send melodramatic text.
No, but you've got a...
I did just say, stop talking about cover versions. It makes me feel sick. Because I identified that's one of my phobias.
Cover versions.
Oh, don't even say it. It's horrible. When you go to listen to a song and it's the wrong one, and it's like session musicians trying to do... I find it so depressing.
Well, there used to be a series of albums called Top of the Pops. And they used to be the hits of the day, as they called them, but not done by the people who did them. So you'd get...
Was it Stars on 45? There was Legs & Co. would be on the front of the album.
Now, Top of the Pops would have a model on the cover, but an unnamed model, looking like, she was loving partying or something. And then you'd get
like me.
a session singer doing... Oh, Daniel is leaving tonight.
Oh, don't! I feel
plane.
sick. Stop it, Frank. It's really upsetting me.
I think some of the Top of the Pops rep company, these singers, they're a bit like, the Strictly. Those guys that really give it so much, Strictly.
Yeah.
Again, I always think of Crocodile Rock on Strictly for some reason, but people go, I remember when rock was... And you think, this is a bloke thinking, this is me now, this is my moment.
Oh.
But... I think...
And the lady in the black cocktail dress, I can't bear it.
The Top of the Pops, you were that lady. The Top of the Pops repertory company who sang those songs, I think a couple of them went on to be stars in their own right, as they say.
Okay.
That's a good quiz
What does
question.
it mean in their own right?
Rather than
Not
as
always
part of
the
an
understudy.
ensemble.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's an odd structure in their own right. Anyway, that's that. Can I tell you a story? Here's a story. I you both drive, but I know Alan is our actual motoring correspondent. But I'd like to hear.
No.
Somewhat tongue-in-cheek, I think it is. fair to
I
say.
parked at a garage to put in some.
Well done. I know you find parking stressful.
I know. Well,
so-
exactly. Well, stick around.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
So I was fueling up. I was putting in some gas, and I the way I parked it was a short walk to the hose.
Uh-oh.
Do you know what I
Oh,
mean?
yes,
Right.
I know what you mean.
But it was a bit. So I was sort of. Yeah, I was a bit of a distance from that, but I thought I'll be in and out in no time. And when
You'd sort of pulled up a bit. You'd done it at Thelma and Louise, essentially. Not much time to stop.
Yeah. And so it made it very difficult to park to the one next to it, so you could fill up there. Do you get my?
okay.
Do you
I
get
know
my
exactly
sense?
what you mean. So were you taking up 2 bays?
No, not nearly. I was
Okay,
taking up
you was.
1 1/5
Yeah.
bays. Anyway, so I went into
Fine if the other pump is going to be used by a smart car, but not for anybody else. Is what
No,
I'm guessing.
exactly. So anyway, I came back and there was a car really trying to squeeze into this so they could fill up. And I came down and I said, I'll move it. And the driver was giving me a real look. And I thought, instead of having the sort of argument, I said, look, and I wrote it down because I got in the car after. I thought, why did I say that? I said, it's hard parking. I've never really worked it out. And the driver said, oh no, well no problem, mate. And I just sat back while I moved the car. I just opened my heart. There was no confrontation. I explained my entire dilemma.
Excellent.
How did the vulnerability angle go?
Well, no, they really responded.
Sounds like it's a good one.
But it wasn't a ruse. I thought, it's hard. We all know how hard it is. I don't think other people do think it's that hard.
No, I don't think they do. I've never struggled with pulling up to a petrol pump.
But it was quite sweet.
Front-facing parking is pretty easy.
But as a general thing, parking is almost impossible. And I thought it was nice that two human beings connected.
Yeah.
How often
Did you get his number?
No. No, I forgot that bit.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Not only does your parking come up sometimes on this show, but also your sense of direction occasionally gets a shout out.
I didn't crawl as a baby.
Oh,
Did you not?
That's part of the problem.
I crawled quite a lot in the 80s. But it's too late then to install sense of direction.
Or maybe that's why you do have the bad sense of
No, I
direction.
told you a psychologist told me that often people with really appalling bad sense of direction don't go through the crawling stage.
Right.
Babies.
Well, David Baddiel puts his insomnia down to having been born in America, is that right? He says he's permanently on a different time zone.
Oh.
Do you believe that?
This could be a good text in. What theories have you got about yourself that
Boris
nobody else is buying?
Yeah, Boris Johnson was born in America, wasn't he? I wonder if he has the same problem.
Interesting.
He's up late some nights.
Some nights, yeah. Had an email, Chinatown. Frank gave me directions to his show on Monday.
Oh, yeah, bloke.
And then
A bloke stopped me and said, "You're on tonight?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Where is it? Where's the theatre?"
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing all the jobs now.
They're like that man in Carry On Abroad. I believe the character was called Pepe.
Okay.
You remember, I think he had to go around, they were understaffed, so he had to do all the jobs.
Oh, okay.
He had to be receptionist, tour guide, chef.
I was doing a bit of that.
Okay.
Well, here's his review. Great show, but directions to theatre were vague.
Well,
That's all
I
I've
think
got.
what you've picked on there is a man who's chosen to concentrate on some areas of life and perhaps not on others. Yeah. Better than...
In a sentence, we can really see what's captured your attention over the years.
It's better than getting great directions to a not very good show. Come on, mate.
Very good point. Very good point.
We've also, David Blundell has been in touch.
Oh, yeah, the great Blondell, the tightrope walker.
He says, Frank...
Was that Blondini?
Is it Blondie?
Who was the bloke who
I know Blondie.
walked the Niagara Falls? Blondini?
I know Blondie.
Okay, yeah, Blondie.
David Blundell says... Frank, did you know that Elton John used to play session piano on those Top of the Pops albums
Well,
before he was
never did.
famous?
Here we were, you see. I said there were people in the rep who were...
He says it's ironic that you sang Daniel to explain them.
Yeah.
And he said at Frank on the radio. I like the branding that he worked in there. Very good.
Yeah, so he's one of the stars. Can I tell you something? Some of our regular readers will know that when I've spoken too much on the link... the producer, Sarah, puts a small face on my desk to tell me to shut up and move on to music or whatever. She's lost that face.
Or it's been snaffled by some
She was gonna
Can I just
steal.
say she looked a bit
Super keen
outraged?
memorabilia fan.
It's been, I believe the term is nicked.
Well, I think we all
It's
have
been
to
nicked,
take,
Gov.
responsibilities for things in life. Anyway, she has made a replacement face, which we'll put on our Instagram things. It's a thing to see. It looks like it reminds me when a friend of mine scalped someone at a football match. And it looks like that. He brought it in the pub that night and put it on the wall. Disgusting. But anyway, it looks like someone's put one of those on top of a letterbox. We'll show you. It was a sterling effort.
Can we please have an appeal, though, Frank, to catch the perpetrator, the Fez, because it's really upset me. And I see my role in this as the elderly detective, female detective in tweed, trying to track down this rascal?
Well, I'd say we look for someone with a very small head. That's the first people I'll be questioning. They'll be helping me with my enquiries.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
321. Oh, lovely.
321.
One of my
Yeah.
favourites, Dusty Bin. I found out what happened to Dusty Bin. More of that later.
Okay.
Said with affection and humour, anyone who asks Frank directions deserves what they get.
Well, I think if you listen to the show regularly, I mean, to be honest, if you listen to the show, I think only last week, I said that I'd gone into the cinema next door
Yes.
and said I'm doing a sound check. So asking me the directions to the theatre was optimistic. But not everyone listens to the show. We have to accept that. I've come to accept it.
Can I also say respect to 321 for putting in brackets how a text should be read, which is a thing that we tried to instigate at least 3 years ago.
Big fan of stage directions.
Yes.
That I've sent texts to people that they've misunderstood completely.
Well, I've just received an email that
Well,
I
sometimes I think I misread your texts.
Do you?
Yeah, I think I do sometimes.
Do you want to
Strange
talk about
place
this
to
on
air
fair?
this.
Yeah.
No, I'd like to do it on air, please.
Okay.
Sometimes I think, oh, is he upset, angry or something? Because
See, that is why there should be stage directions.
I know.
Said
Yes.
with a twinkle, and
Yeah.
then you do the thing.
Yeah.
like if I don't get a kiss from you, I get very worried.
Oh, well, I thought you were on my kiss list.
Oh,
I've been a bit like with...
No, you're very good on that normally, but occasionally.
I'm more careful on the kisses than I used to be.
Yeah, I know. Kath's pointed
The
that out
modern
to you.
If it's a woman, I have to get a kiss from them first. I
Oh,
always
is that
think,
right?
Yeah, and then I think
Yeah.
I'll save that one for... I can use that one in court.
Save all your
Yeah.
kisses for me.
Yeah, exactly. So she started it.
Look forward to that trial. Good luck with that.
We've also just had a text on the subject of the sensitive direction.
You got to have a file nowadays. I'm sorry.
On the subject of the sense of direction, we had a
Yes.
text that confused me momentarily from Gary, double R.
Oh.
They say that Garys are dwindling, don't they? I imagine the double R Garys are
Well,
really dwindling.
no Gary's born at all.
Ever.
In the
It's a new rule.
I think it was year before last it started. It was
Gary
the first
ever
non-Gary
been born?
year.
Good point.
Samuel Beckett.
It says, "Hi Alan, can you give me directions to the Fraser Theatre? I'll be there Wednesday. Gary." And for a little while this confounded me, and then I remembered I'm a comedian and I'll probably be doing a gig at the Fraser Theatre somewhere.
You don't know
on
where it
Wednesday.
is?
I think it's Knaresborough, but I'd like to run this past you. Does everybody else sort of commit to their short-term memory up to the Sunday and then kind of refresh it again
Yes.
Yeah.
over the weekend? Is
Yeah.
Very much so.
At the
So, like-
weekend, I'll have a look at next. I
Yeah.
honestly
Yeah,
look at next
yeah.
week and go, oh, what already? That's come round already.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I don't
go any
know
further. You know-
next Wednesday
what it's
until
like?
Monday.
It's like when you've got one of those, when you're streaming a show, I think.
I've never streamed a show. Can I be honest with you, darling?
Oh, my goodness me.
I'm a success.
Okay, let's say a box set. You're familiar with that?
Yes.
So when you think, I'll just do 2 more episodes tonight and
Yeah.
I'll leave it there. That's how I see my
Yeah.
calendar. I only want to
see.
do the next 2-3
But
days.
it's always now you've talked about it. I really want to look at my next week. I'm going to do it now.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Couple of humorous messages on Twitter regarding the missing Fez.
Oh, yes?
I mean, I just read them because I think they'll appeal to you two, because you're the pun demographic, aren't you?
Can be.
I'm not, but Stephen Burgess says, hire a private investigator.
Whoa. Okay.
Chris Holton, has it been confiscated?
I mean, they've gone for the first syllable.
Yeah.
Laboured, I think. I'd
Okay,
say.
let's move on to Chris Dawkes, who's got...
Do you know Chris Dawkes? No, but thanks for the tip.
Is he a friend of Rich Dawkes? If I was friends with Richard Dawkins, I would call him that.
I think
Would
Rich
ya?
Dawkes is probably a
met some.
Facebook group,
I've
isn't it?
met some Rich Dawkes in my time.
Chris Dawkes has news about Dusty Bin.
Oh, okay.
Because I was asking about him, Al, wasn't I?
For-
really?
For our three younger listeners, there was a big hit game show in the 80s, would you say?
Yeah, I'm going to go 80s, possibly
Cool.
even late 70s.
Hosted by
No, go
Ted
80s.
Rogers. Do you know Ted Rogers? No.
Now then.
Believe it.
Now then.
And I was working with Ted Rogers once on a show called Gag Tag, and at the
Of course
end,
you were.
at the end, we have to do a thing where you say, "You've been a marvellous audience bot," and then do a joke. Everyone had to do one of those. So you'd have a couple up your sleeve in case you did one that didn't work, so they could then put that one, the good one in the edgy. So Ted said, "You've been a marvellous audience bot," and then he did a joke and it didn't work. We thought, fair enough, it's fine. Then he did another one, didn't work. Then he did a third one, and then he just went, "Oh, it's a terrible sound of defeat." Oh, poor Ted.
I've made that sound.
Ted was very...
Anyway, he had a game show where you had very complicated riddles, and you had to, is it find Dusty Bin?
Well, what it was, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You had to...
There's a bin with a face on it.
It was a bin with a face, rather creepy. And essentially, these riddles were a bit like the riddle of the Sphinx. It was like, my first is in...
so hard.
And then he would explain them, going, no, you said that, no, you meant... And so bin rhymes with sin, Dusty Bin, and the booby prize at the end. Well, there were several prizes, but you didn't want to get him. He represented failure.
Now, if you got Dusty Bin, it meant you got nothing, basically. Did you actually get a little model of Dusty Bin to keep?
So-
Well, at the time, you would also, because obviously the speedboat was the great aspirational lifestyle choice then.
Yeah.
I mean, they hadn't thought these through, 70s people. They're expensive to run. The petrol,
That's right.
the mooring costs, etc.
Well, on Bullseye, where they got the spit, I mean, I think famously two blokes from Dudley in the West Midlands won it, and it's not speedboat country. I mean, it's 140 miles from the sea or something like that.
It's very transport based because the caravan were also featured in 321
Yeah, I
with
think
little window, with little curtains, orange curtains.
my parents would always say, "Oh, they'll sell that. They'll sell that straight away. That'll be an exchange of mark come the weekend." Anyway, so I think we've established
Sorry,
three.
we're Dusty
So
Bin.
Dusty Bin
You're
was
getting the vibe.
a sort of booby prize.
Yes.
Can you still say that?
Don't know.
Where's the
He had
where's the
music.
manual?
You know
Check
how
the manual.
Bully had the music? I believe he had music as well, Dusty Bin, but I
Did
can't
he?
remember.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago, you asked whatever happened to Dusty Bin. Well, I can reassure you that he's clearly enjoying his retirement in the archives at ITV Yorks. There's a picture of Dusty Bin. I have to say it, not looking great.
Well, when you showed me that picture, you said he was in the archive. I thought they'd left him by the bins. A picture that had been left by the bins,
Oh, I
and then I
see.
realised he was the bin in the picture. It's very confusing.
He genuinely looks like he's aged. Honestly, I know that sounds strange, but if we could put this up on the social medias, because he looks really is pallor. He looks really washed
I'm not
out.
suggesting he's a has-been.
He must
Maybe
be.
it's because the
He must be in
graphics.
his late 30s. I don't know how old he was on the show.
Well, maybe it's because the graphics look dated.
How old is he in bin years?
Yeah.
Well, he actually looks dirty.
Well, he's a bin.
It's part of his shtick.
Exactly. It's a pity him and Top Cat didn't get together. They could have toured.
Also,
Oh, man.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've also had another email from Gary R, who texted, who emailed a little while with
Can you
a
think of a
request.
famous Gary with a double R? The only one that comes to mind is, I believe, Gary Birtles, the former Nottingham. Make that clear. Nottingham Forest centre forward was double R. I
is
think.
Gary Delaney the comic just one R?
I think he's one R.
I think he's one out.
Shandling?
Oh, Gary Shandling.
Might be
Gone, of
double.
course.
No, I don't know. I think he might just be one.
No,
I don't
he's
know.
double R, I think.
Is
Is he double?
Anyway,
I'll be really
think.
pleased if he is.
But go
Carry
on.
on.
Anyway, he texted with a question for directions to my show that I'd forgotten.
Oh, yes.
Forgotten. He's then followed it up with, "Hi Frank, also
At Knaresborough.
Knaresborough, can I also get directions to Hull City Hall again on a Wednesday, 18th of September, please?" Which
No.
I'm extrapolating is perhaps a Frank Skinner show, is it?
I don't know, but I think City
Sounds like it
Hall,
might be.
that's the sort of place you can find in a place.
Yes.
That's a big place.
The obligation's
Yeah.
on him now.
Yeah.
Someone will
I
know.
think, come on, guys. Again,
Call to
I don't want
arms.
to plug our famous rival, Google. I've already been condemned for bringing them up.
Yeah.
I was condemned for bringing up Spotify, which I'd never mentioned. I didn't even know it still existed. But I'll be honest with you, what happened to me is I went to the Brit Awards and I was given a free 3-month trial of Apple Music,
Oh, yeah.
and I've never looked back.
Really?
Yeah. Amazing.
Splendid.
It's amazing.
Goodness
Okay.
And I'm not in their pay. I'm just telling you, it's made my life very happy.
me. Wow.
First band I listened to on there, The Course. I just sucks it's Apple Music.
Apple Cause. Very
Start
good.
it off. No, I did. I've never listened to The Course on there. Who would? 8, 12, 15. So,
Someone saw Ted Rogers in a tea room in Peterfield
okay.
Place, not some bloke's field.
Well, when I met...
having
Oh, sorry.
he was having a scone. He went.
Why wouldn't he?
He went jam then cream, the correct way, in my opinion.
Wow, he was really studying poor
Yeah.
old Ted. But he was
Nice
a
to
bit
hear from
self-conscious.
Ted Rogers Stalker on Saturday morning radio,
Ted,
isn't
can
it?
I just say, Ted Rogers, my final word on him, as if it'll be my final. I love that man. But he loved a grey slack and a navy single-breasted blazer with a
he
gold
really
button.
did. He really
Do you know the
did.
Good
type of man
outfit.
I mean? 70s light end look.
But he was, as a comic, I think he was quite He used to do like topical stuff. You know, that sort of topical stuff that isn't, that when they'd get a newspaper and go through and it was, you know, stuff they'd been doing for 2 years.
Right,
He had a
yeah.
bit of that to it. But I think he was very nice when I met him. There was a bit when he swore, and it was on fantasy football. But he didn't swear on the show, but he swore in the rehearsal. Mm-hmm. And then he turned to the studio, and because it was fantasy football, he was trying to keep it all in-house. He said, "Oh, sorry, ladies, if I turn the air Chelsea blue." Oh, keep it football, Ted. What a pro. Is he, I'll Google it.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
I think this is my last Ted Rogers anecdote. But
Worst words
I
I've
don't know
ever
about
heard in
but
my life.
This morning, Ted was saying to me, "I'll see what you're up to at the moment," which is always a mistake to ask anyone in the entertainment business. He said, "I'm doing my one-man show about Danny Kaye." Now, Danny Kaye, if you remember, was a big film star, big American film star, famous for tongue twisters and stuff like that. Yeah. He did legendary shows at the Palladium in the 60s, I think it was, that people still talk about as some of the great live shows. Anyway, so he did a one-man show about him. He did his songs and told his life story. He said, I start off, he said, I go on stage and I say, tonight I'm going to tell the story of Daniel David Kowalski. He said, that's his real, he said, and he says, so I'll get a laugh on the name. And I thought, do you get a laugh on saying Daniel David Kowalski? And these were different times
They
where
were
people
different
thought,
times.
foreign name. Ha ha! Wow.
I mean,
So-
we've made a lot of progress in that regard.
We have.
I think.
We have. If I try that at the Leicester Square Theatre,
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna work.
No. On the subject of names, 327 has texted regarding the decline of Gary's. By the way, this whole text message is in caps, which makes me think 327 is angry at us. Regarding the decline of Gary's, the same can also be said about Barry's and Larry's. Only Harry's (brackets royal connection) are prolific.
Why is 327? You know, it's the bin up the road. It's a bit jealous. 321's getting all the attention.
But we were specifically talking about the double R.
The minority within the
Now,
minority.
Gary Bushell.
Those are names I think that are all. Oh, was that
Bushell.
double R?
Bushell
Maybe.
strikes me as very double R.
Yeah,
I can I smell a double R on Bushel.
Not sure.
I think you mean in Brazil, don't you?
I love the word brassiere.
Thank you.
Bushel is a double R. I'll have a wager with you.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
We
I've
also
just got a
occasionally,
feeling.
Anyway, the point was, Harry's, Larry's, and what was this other one he used? Barry.
Could you check Bushel,
I think
please?
they don't get single R, do they?
No.
So we're talking about the specific branch of Gary's.
Yes.
And their rareness. So come on.
We've got a boffin in a lab coat working
Boffin
on
with one F or two?
working on the Bushel.
Okay.
Frank,
I'd like to use the show.
it's double R.
Is it?
Is it really?
Okay.
Excellent. Just
This is
briefly,
my
I'd like to do a little
moment.
public service broadcast. Frank and team, this is from 295, who's texted, in relation to broken debit cards, just to help any listeners that spend a long part of their day sitting, keeping anything in your back pocket, wallet, etc., heightens the risk of MSDs, musculoskeletal disorders.
Does he?
Nobody wants a bad back.
What about
That's
if
what
it's
they
a
say.
betting slip?
I don't imagine that would.
No.
Although I suppose it's like the pee in the bed story, isn't it? The
Well,
the
you keep- I've
mattress.
told you never to tell that on air.
Frank Skinner,
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Whenever I'm out driving, driving myself now, not in the back of a vehicle.
Been driven.
Yeah, but when I'm
Right.
actually driving myself, I tell you what, occasionally, people cut you up or people go past you at 110 miles an hour on the motorway and stuff.
Yeah.
Of course it happens, it's part of
Yeah.
life. But I have noticed, I started keeping a sort of a general mental log of what make of car
Oh.
was the most involved in aggressive incident, cutting people up, tailgating, all those things.
Do you want us to
Okay.
guess?
Well, yeah, well, go on, yeah. I wasn't going to plan a guess, but go on. What would yours be?
I'm going to go obscure. Zastava Yugo.
I wouldn't know one of those if they...
To be honest, it's a car that my mum had when I was at school, like a Czech make.
I thought you played for United. That's what that
much
sounds.
derided.
That's
Okay.
for you, guys.
Yeah.
I'd like to throw something in. Range Rover.
Ooh, good shout.
Can I tell you, I would say, and I'm not exaggerating, let me get it so I'm not exaggerating, I would say 70% of the aggressive driving I see, maybe 73%, is Audi drivers.
Is that right?
Now,
Yeah.
why?
Oh, I've
why,
narrowly missed out
why?
there. So not the Benz, fortunately.
Yeah, but what is it?
Text us 8 12 15.
Yeah, there's got to be a reason, something that attracts people to that car, aggressive people.
What's under the Audi driver's anger iceberg? That's what
Does
we
it
want
mean
to
that
know.
angry people think, I want a car, and let me have a look at the alphabetical list. I haven't got time for this, I'll have that one. Yeah, but it's so... Now I've started noticing it. I think I even sometimes can't see what the car is, and I hear the something. I think, I bet that's an Audi. Lo and
Really?
behold.
Right.
And then with the lovely Olympic symbols as well.
Well, more or less, yeah.
I mean, it's not quite the Olympian,
No, but you know,
as
it's
we know.
it's ring based.
What do
What do
they
you think they've
symbolise,
just-
those
Yeah,
rings?
and the lovely Tolkien imagery.
Do you think maybe there's just...
it's more Wagner. I
It's
can
Vor-
imagine
I
he'd be an
believe it's
aggressive driver.
Vorsprung, actually, if you know what I mean.
Was it? Were they the ones that used?
Vorsprung der Technik
That wasn't Audi.
was the
was
Audi
it?
strapline
That's right,
for
yeah,
many
yeah.
years.
Oh, that
yeah.
was
Great
Audi.
advertising campaign.
We
yeah.
still remember it all these years later.
I like
Yeah.
the idea that Wagner was an aggressive driver.
No, he would have
I mean,
been,
We've
no,
had
would-
quite a lot of late reviews on this show.
He
but
was
When you got the
Wagner's
Rise of the
driving.
Valkyrie on your cassette player, I mean, that's not going to bring out the best in you, is it?
He had bad road rage, I reckon.
You
Oh,
think?
man.
What, Marla? No, Marla was more a bit depressed when he drove.
I don't really know his stuff. I've got to be straight with you.
Okay.
Do you think there's just like a group fault in all of the Audi cars? The speedo says 30 and it's actually doing 90. Do you think that could be
I
it?
think there is a fault. As they say, the problem is the nut behind the wheel.
right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Just about.
Keep an eye out now, anyway, for it.
I will.
You'll see. It's a theory I'd love to get to the bottom of, I must say.
Oh.
What else?
Well,
Oh, here's something.
Well, I'll
something.
tell you-
Was this all right? I went to a restaurant.
oh, God.
So sorry, Frank. I just have to tell you, Stephen Burgess has seen the Danny Kaye show on YouTube.
You're joking.
He said the audience is about 30 pensioners with their coats on.
Okay.
I will be watching this. This sounds extraordinary.
But does he get a laugh on the name?
He doesn't say that. Steve, please tell us what happens.
I hope the one that they've immortalised is not the show where he didn't get a laugh on the name. I mean, he'd be furious about that.
I'm just tense that we're advertising YouTube again.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I interrupted.
I think we're all right advertising the Ted Rogers, Danny Kaye one-man show.
Yeah.
I think that's okay. R.I.P. Ted Rogers.
Sorry.
No, go on.
I feel very disrespectful adding something, but
Go on.
I was just going to solve your Audi question. Ros Bridges has tweeted us to say Audi, I'm afraid she says, and BMW. Sorry, Frank.
Okay.
Are usually driven by balding middle-aged men in sunglasses.
Oh. Well, I wouldn't go. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say that. I'm just trying to wonder, do we do adverts for Audi? No, we're all right.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, we're very.
I think we might.
Yeah, no, I think we're very all embracing here. In fact, if I remember rightly, we buy any car. We buy any car.
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
It's often a riddle to me what will light up the switchboard
My first is in fish, but not in sea.
on this show. I have to
3, 2,
say, I mean, there was a time when I got the name of a skillet pan mixed up, and we got quite a lot of Creaciones. But you slagging off Audi drivers has really
I don't know if I
lit
slagged
up
them
the
off
system.
exactly. In my experience, they are. I mean, by quite a long, big margin, the most aggressive and brutish drivers on the roads I travel.
Well, let's just say, on this occasion, everybody else have become aggressive text messages to this show in agreement with you. There's a lot of agreement. 736 as a two-pronged attack. He's managed to answer the Audi. I think the Audi thing is that loads of them get used as company fleet cars, so they get driven by company reps who burn up and down the country permanently late and in a bit of a temper.
And also, when it's not your car, one does drive a bit differently.
Yes. He adds an NB. NB.
I love an NB.
My name is Basil, and I quite often get called Barry, as people just can't compute the fact. I think that means that I have such a ridiculous ancient name, but I get too embarrassed to correct them, so it sticks. There are people I've known casually for years who still think I'm called Barry.
I'd rather be a Basil than a Barry.
Me too. That's too nice.
An old,
Yeah, is that a music hall song?
No, I think, isn't it Simon and Garfunkel? I'd rather be a Basil than a Barry.
We've had some confirmation of that. For example, 560, this is Claire. She's also said company cars, reps late for meetings.
Oh, okay.
This seems to be the most widely held
I'm sure I've
theory.
been cut up by them on the weekend as well. I suppose once you get into that habit of driving like that.
Yeah. I mean,
Can I
some
say
of the
it hasn't
messages-
always been men? Can I point that out?
Well, quite.
And some of the messages that we've received about Audi drivers are unbroadcastable, but we take your point, all
Yes.
of you.
But madam,
though.
I sympathise with your husband. We've also...
Yeah, but you shouldn't.
No, I know.
We couldn't
I know.
read that
No,
out.
Of course we couldn't. I mean, she might be happily married.
Yeah.
There's, on the surface, there is another message from, there was a chap here who was also, he was a little bit put out because he was saying, look, people always go on about Audi drivers, but he's an Audi driver, and he said he's discovered issues with the Corsa driver.
Oh, yes. The young people in souped-up Corsas.
This is,
Oh, I thought you meant the Corsa driver as in those who are a bit coarser than the average
Well,
driver.
describe me.
Yes.
No. He said he's a little bit put out.
But he said, can I say, I was not aware that it's a general... This is a theory I've put together myself based purely on field research.
Okay.
I didn't know it was a generally held view.
Well,
As Groucho Marx used to say, well, it's the first I heard of it.
Yes.
I thought you were
He
going to
just
say
says
you
as
don't
an
want to
Audi
belong to a
driver-
club that will accept you as a member.
Or as Mr. Bean would say, You're right, Mr. Bean. He's choking. Get his tie up. No. He's choking. Get his tie up.
Do you know what?
No.
Frank, imagine trying to have a serious conversation. If he was my partner,
Yeah.
and say, look, Bean, I'm just worried because...
You wouldn't call him Bean.
What,
if
why
he-
has he got a name? Has he got a first name?
Has?
Barry.
He's not called Barry Bean. Made that up.
Barry Bean. I don't know what his first. You know his first name. We're not
Imagine
allowed
if
to
I was
know.
trying to talk, I just said, oh, Barry, I'm just not sure because I feel really committed to this relationship and you're sort of...
Yeah, that's all right.
Do you love me though, Barry?
It would be difficult, but that's why he never really holds. I think there's
Yeah.
one of the films where he does get the girl.
Oh man, there's this very funny bit where he takes someone to the cinema. It's really...
What about if I had
funny.
bad medical news to break to him?
Oh.
Yeah.
Barry, I've got Crohn's disease.
Oh.
No, he shouldn't be in the Doctor Bean. He shouldn't be in that. You don't want him breaking. Whatever, you wouldn't be able to tell what he was saying. What's the result of the test? Sorry? Be awful.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
I have just received a text, but this is on my personal number, which I don't give out.
I think
every
it's
day.
Seems
what I would call his master's voice.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Well, I've received a text from Paul, who's our boss.
Exactly.
He says, in regards to Sean, who was asking about Shakespeare's sister. Do you remember
Yeah,
earlier?
she was toying with the idea of requesting a Shakespeare sister, but because she says she never hears them on the radio.
Shakespeare's sister with no E on the end, interestingly. Please tell Sean to listen to Absolute Radio 90s. I've just realised I'm listening on said 90s station, which is why this text is weirdly an hour out of date.
Yeah, Sean, don't go into 90 straight away, or you'll hear our last hour.
I love
again.
an Absolute Radio 90s. I love an 80s.
Unless you really enjoyed the last hour, in which case you could listen it again immediately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there is no one like that in the world.
If you like hearing texts about Audis, then straight
Something
to
Mr.
it.
Bean
Exactly.
would do.
Yes.
Al, did we get any updates on Mr. Bean's first name? I don't think we did we? We had someone suggesting it was Mr.
211 suggested, sorry to break it to you, Frank, but Mr. Bean's first name is Basil. He's just too embarrassed to correct you. I don't know if we've
No,
already
that was
covered
good.
that.
That's a bat reference. That's good. I like it.
I'm going to stick
Strong.
with him as Barry. Can I tell you about a strange thing I did this week?
Please do.
I did something a little cool, and I'm not very cool.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm not. I'm fabulous,
Oh,
but I'm
come on.
not cool.
You are fabulous.
I went to see Nick Cave
Oh,
at the
yeah.
Barbican. Now, does that
Cool.
surprise you slightly? Let's be honest.
That
bet,
is a
yeah.
bit like when I saw former Hampshire and England batsman Mark Nicholas at the Lou Reed gig.
Yes.
Yeah, I
can see
did
that.
think, have you taken the wrong...
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you weren't the only one to think that because obviously the demographic was a lot of black, and it was said to have been a sunny day, and the goths. There's a big goth demographic.
Can I
Oh,
tell you
right,
something
yeah.
before we get into the meat
Launch
of
into the
this?
caveman.
Yeah, Nick Cave, I put in the same box as Donnie Darko. In
Right.
that, a lot of people said to me, "You've got to watch. It's so you, Donnie Darko. You'll love it." And when I watched it, I thought, "How dare you!" And it sort of made me wary because a lot of people have said to me, "But you must love Nick Cave. He absolutely fits the rest of all the stuff you listen to." And
Right.
I've never gone to him for that reason.
You've never entered the cave.
I'm thinking, I suppose the cave is on my back burner, as it were, as somewhere I'm going to go.
Maybe it's
I'm
a
saying
place
in
we
my
could-
later years, but I don't know how long I'm planning to live, for goodness sake.
Maybe it's a place we could meet for a chat or something.
Yeah.
'Cause, but
He's one of the high forehead celebs that me and him should get on.
Yes.
well, he's got a high forehead. He really has. And what I like is the commitment to the raven black hair still.
Yeah, I like that in people.
Good on you, Cave. So I went with my friend Malcolm, he's more of a musicals fan, I think it's fair to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he loves a bit of the caveman.
Okay.
So we went to the Barbican. It turned out to be not a concert as such, but a Q&A
Oh.
interspersed with the odd song.
So he did play.
3
Q&A was
hours, though.
singing.
3 hours.
Okay.
3 hours, not in one go. Surely there was an
Yes.
interval.
I was desperate for the toilet.
No, there must have been an interval.
No
3
interval.
hours?
Cave just goes straight through.
3 hours consecutive.
3 hours of cave.
Legend alerts.
I'd have had to have gone up like, I'd had to have gone like, you know those baby
3
men who
hours?
wear nappies, this websites. I'd have to have gone like that. With a big rattle.
Oh, wow.
It's the only way I'd have got through, for goodness sake. I mean, I'm a human being. People forget that.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
So I'm telling you about my night with the caveman.
Night in the cave, yeah.
Okay.
I liked him because he was a bit of a git. He reminded me of... I think that's why people... No offence taken, but I think that's why people might think you'll like him, Frank, because he's got that gittishness. It's a kind of
Okay.
lovable gittishness.
Okay.
So with the Q&As, there's sort of a social contract, really, that you say, thanks so much. What was your name? Thanks for that question.
Yeah.
Not for the cave.
Okay.
He says, he'll keep saying, so I didn't understand. What are you talking about? He's a bit more like that.
Okay.
He's a bit tricky.
Oh, God. Did people still put their hands up?
Well, they shoot and they say, I'm a massive fan. And you could see him going, okay, you know. But one man said, Nick, I'm the
You see
same.
that? I'm warm to that.
I know. I think you would like him.
No, I mean people saying I'm a massive
Oh, you would
fan.
like that.
You like that
He
bit?
said, one man said, Nick, I'm the same age as you. And Cave said, well, really? What happened?
Oh,
And the man
the
replied,
bloke said I did a proper job.
Yeah.
Frank, he did say that.
Did he?
He said, I worked for a living.
Oh,
for him.
whoa! Quite right, quite right.
Gittishness is not a one-way street, it would appear.
I want to open the gate door.
Anyway.
What did he say back to
Oh,
that?
they'd say-
Did he laugh? Does he ever laugh?
You can't really see with the paleness of the
He's
complexion.
gaunt as well.
yeah.
He's absolutely
the thin-
copyrighted gauntness.
He's just John Gaunt.
He is.
His
he is.
trousers were hanging off him, but the paleness
He is
is
William
like...
of Gaunt.
There can't
He's
be
like,
any
if
more
they did
gaunts
a-
now, surely.
Channel 5 documentary, The Man Who'd Never Seen Sunlight.
Yeah.
They would do
Right.
that about Cave. Anyway,
Well, I think
He makes snooker players look healthy.
He gets slight chafing on his inner cheeks because they rub against each other.
and also a striped Frankenstein monster with the suit. Right, so I mean, the trouser leg is short on Cave. Anyway,
he?
the point is, I want to tell you the story because
we should make the point, having said this, the people you meet who like Nick Cave are utterly obsessed with him. I mean, he has
Oh.
got a devoted following.
someone said, "What songs of other people's do you listen to?" He said, "No, I only listen to my own."
Brilliant.
Next
Did he
question.
really?
Yeah. You
God.
must like that, Frank. Come on.
Yes.
Anyway.
I remember Robert Fripp saying he couldn't listen to other guitarists because he might get influenced.
Right.
Ah,
Because he went out of tour, I believe, didn't
love
he?
it. I think he
Anyway,
might. Yes, I think he
as
did.
I was in the lobby, guys, of the Barbican, I noticed there was a summer events programme on the stand, and I thought, oh, I'll pick that up and have a look. My musical loving friend, I noticed on mine, what was nice, they'd done a rather clever effect, which was in silver font. They'd had Benedict Cumberbatch's sort of signature on the front of the magazine. And then my friend Malcolm picked up a copy, and I said, hang on, there's no Benedict Cumberbatch signature on your copy.
Right.
I thought, and then I looked at all the other copies, and there was no Benedict Cumberbatch silver signature.
Golden ticket.
I had got... Well, of course, I looked at it and I panicked and I thought, has someone got this signed and left it? I couldn't see what it said. It looked like it said to Theo Darbican.
Okay.
Went over to the bar. There was a barman called Jesus.
You've won the prize, haven't you? There's got to be a prize
I
for
said,
the signed Benedict Cumberbatch.
He said, my name is Jesus. He's Spanish. I don't know if I can do the accent. But,
yeah.
you know.
Hell.
Hell said,
Yeah.
someone play a joke. Someone play a joke on you. I said, no, honestly. So I showed him all the other programmes. He went, oh, my God. Oh, it's from him. He Googled let's see signature. He Googled the signature. We checked. It was
Yeah.
right. A woman in Barbican headphones came over. Yes, this is, he leaves them there sometimes. I said, I can't take it. She
But
said, well,
is
it's
it a golden ticket? Do you win a trip to...
I said, do I win anything? No, I don't. She said, just
Oh.
take it. My point is, I think he's a nice enough bloke. I'm not a die-hard fan. I'd like to give it to one of our readers, Frank. Maybe they'd like a Benedict
some big-
Cumberbatch programme. Because it's a signed programme from Benedict Cumberbatch.
That's
Would
cool.
anyone like it? Okay.
Well, okay. That's a
I
few.
don't know if we're allowed to do competitions.
Yeah, I was just thinking about
Do
the
we have to
Ofcom
ask a
rules. Should we look
question?
in the booklet?
Well,
It's
look in the book.
it's not a competition, though, is it? Because we're just giving it away.
Can you find out, please?
Surely we can give stuff away. Has Christianity lost that much influence in this country? Oh, sorry, everyone. I've been under a lot of pressure.
Yes, apparently, yes.
If any of our
That's
readers
official.
would like a Benedict Cumberbatch signed programme, I would like to give it to them.
Brilliant.
Well, let's come up with a way of giving it, Frank.
But I think we need to check if we can
We
do a
will
competition.
check first, but I'm just saying it's on my person, okay?
Okay. And what I really thought he was going to say I got to stay the night in his house or something because it was like a golden ticket.
Well, that's what I thought. I really hoped it was, but
Oh,
no.
weird. So he just goes there and signs them randomly.
She said to me
That's
he had a
brilliant.
wonderful time here. And Neil Gaiman apparently does it as well. In bookshops, he randomly signs them. Said he had a wonderful time
Brilliant.
here. I mean, I don't go back to ex's flats and sign things. We've all had
all right.
wonderful times places.
Well, I certainly don't sign things.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, yes, we'll work out. But it's, I think that's a brilliant thing to do. If I was as famous as him, I'd do it.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We were talking previously on ER about the Benedict Cumberbatch autograph.
Yeah, the mystery
I
autograph.
picked up by mistake.
It's great.
I mean, I felt some guilt, I've got to be honest, about holding on to it. I don't know why that was. I just felt, well, I don't have a right to this. And the lady said, well, no, you take it.
Yeah, I think because someone will put it. I mean, whatever we do, it'll end up on eBay.
Do you think it will?
Yeah, everything
Whoever
does.
ends up with the Benedict Cumberbatch autograph, please don't put it on eBay.
Come on, you're better than that.
I find that upsetting.
Well, a couple of people have messaged wanting to have it. They've asked for it themselves. But
I'm
I think
having
you're
that.
going to give it away in a different fashion.
We're going to do it
Am I correct?
on the socials. We'll do it on Twitter. So we'll put a picture up of it. And, yeah, if I like the cut of your jib, you'll get it. Thank you.
Well, I don't think people's jibs should be involved, but that's fine.
We've also had someone texting in regarding Dusty Bin, Frank.
Oh, yes.
We've been discussing him this morning, and Stuart Barnes
I mean, this really should be on Absolute 80s.
Yeah.
says, I remember an answer to one of the clues.
We should say that we were saying before that I think it's for all your masterminds and all that. This was a populist sort of Saturday night quiz for all the family. It had the hardest clues of anything. It was harder than Only Connect, QI, whatever.
Hope you're not suggesting they didn't want to give away those expensive prizes.
There was no prizes. That's my.
They didn't want to give away the caravan.
So go on.
So, yes, a lot of people have been texting in, so they watched it with their grandparents. Stuart Barnes, I remember an answer to one of the clues on 321. Ted said, you've turned the clue down because of the word drab. Drab backwards is bard. The bard was William Shakespeare. Shakespeare lived in Stratford-upon-Avon. Avon backwards is Nova.
So you would have won a Vauxhall Nova
Yeah.
if you hadn't been such an idiot. I couldn't see that staring you right in the face.
Yeah, that was
Whoa.
From the word drab.
It was a programme which I think featured the word drab. I think it was a sort of leitmotif on there. Oh, man. So that was hard.
Wow.
Dear, I know.
Anyway, to more modern happenings, I believe that the Conservative and Unionist Party are seeking a new leader.
They sure are, and it's been heavily featured in the news cycle this week, hasn't it?
Oh, that's
It really has.
I love that.
They had the leadership debate on Monday night on the television.
Well, they had the two, didn't they? They had the, I call it the 15-1.
Yeah,
That was the neon podium
I didn't catch that one.
and the Westlife reunion tour.
15 to 1, the popular
television
quiz programme. I remember I used to work at Capitol Studios doing fantasy football, where they did 15 to 1. And one of the weeks, one of the contestants got mogged leaving the studio, which was quite a bit of sensation, obviously a horrible story. And somebody said, fancy though, the one of the contestants getting, mogged. And I said, yeah, what's the chances of that? And the answer, and Bill Stewart, who hosted it, on the last, whenever they did the last show of the series, they used to sort of fence off one room, one table in the canteen, and Bill had steak that day. The only person they did one steak for Bill Stewart. Oh, the golden age of television, ladies and gentlemen.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
So I saw the Monday night Tory leadership chat, and I don't really identify Emily Dean with the Conservative Party or the leadership, but
Yes.
I did think of you all the way through it because they'd been forced to sit on high stools, and I know that you hate them, and they couldn't seem to get comfortable, and it just reminded me of doing this show where you fidget with your high chair.
When you say fidget, I mean, you two walk into this studio. I don't even know if you're aware of this, Frank Skinner. You essentially just sit down. Job's a good one. I have to clamber up. It takes between 5 and 8 seconds. I have to pause.
I thought you were going to say minutes.
No, I wasn't going to do that. I thought I'm going to go literal. Why
Yeah.
not? I have to actually break for Kendal mint cake sometimes. The level of exhaustion. I'm tired. I feel like I've climbed a summit. It's very... And my
have been a couple
legs
of
dangle down
occasions.
like I'm in a pterodactyl's mouth.
Well, you can always follow the Andy Bush method, which is to stand for the whole show.
Yeah,
There've
but
been
you
a few
won't see my
occasions
head.
where I've joined my hands together and done like a sort of a man-made stirrup for Emily. You know, that sort of-
I love a man-made stirrup.
All I'm
Jock
saying is
her up.
the stool... I don't like a stool.
Well, Rory Stewart struggled with it, didn't
Well,
he?
I
He sort of
found
planted
it-
his feet on the floor and stretched his legs out. It looked a bit distinctive from the others.
Well,
on
I don't know if you know,
purpose.
but I remember a thing, I saw Michael Gove on a train.
Oh, you
once,
did, yes.
And he had the biggest bottom I've ever seen on a basically fairly slim man.
Mm-hmm.
He had an enormous bottom. I think they should have had him sitting on like a big golf tee. That would have been perfect. So I worry about him on a high stool.
Imagine if they were
Case
all
it
on
droops
stools and he
over.
was on a beanbag.
Yeah, exactly. I think he could have sat on the floor and they could have sat on him.
Although Bojo's he's got
Yeah.
junk in the
No,
trunk.
but he looks like he's a rotund man. But
Yeah.
I
Right.
think if Gove had a desk job, you'd never know
Yeah.
about the.
He's got the centaur.
I think he
vibe.
could be a centaur.
He's,
Maybe.
I think that's possible.
Do you think that Rory Stewart was
sure he's
trying...
not further right than that. Oh,
very
Rory
good.
Stewart, what?
Do you
Sorry.
think he was trying to become a talking point when he took his tie off? Because all the rest of them had the tie on they had the microphone on their tie,
Well, he's-
but he had it on his lapel.
Because he does that thing of it looks like he's wearing a kid wearing his dad's suit.
Yes.
He's got really big clothes he wears. He looks like a man who, if he took his tie off, the whole thing would drop off him, like he was in a sack, a tied up sack with his head sticking out there. Thank goodness he just didn't drop off him and he was just sitting naked with all the clothes at the base of the tall stool.
I did
Like
think
one of
if
the
he,
bag of gold you've talked about. That's exact.
I bet he wears a small red loincloth underneath. Because do you think he looks like... what happened to Mowgli after he went to the human village? That looks like... We'll give him this dead man's clothes to wear. And he can educate himself in that tree hut. I quite like him, can I say, off the
Yeah.
top of this. It doesn't put me off him in any way.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Before we condemn high stools too much, I mean, that was a big part in me learning to swim, having a high stool at home.
Well, I mean,
I got all my strokes in order, yeah,
did you?
on the high stool.
I like that you're concerned about offending the high stool
Community,
demographic.
yeah.
Well, people go on about austerity and all that, and how the government has. But I don't think I've been in 2 mazes in the last 18 months that didn't have the maze advisor on the high stool if you got hopelessly lost. Remember, they used to have a man with one of those Cecil B. DeMille
Yeah.
those things they're like a funnel, voice funnel.
Yes, and they had on the exalted director's chair, essentially.
Yeah, and they would be saying, "Oh, you need to go left and then right, sir," and all that. They seem to have got people. It's a tremendous image for what's happened because the guidance from above has gone.
Oh, right.
I believe D.W. Griffiths in the silent movie era, from my days working then, used to shout simple emotions at the actors. So he would say grief, laughter, joy, pain.
I'm going to try that with the gigs. Laughter! See if it works.
So we were talking about the debate, the heated debate.
Yeah, I mean, 5 blokes on high stools. I suppose the ones that didn't win could end up doing a bit of summer work as umpires at Wimbledon.
Oh, yes.
That might be a backup plan.
Yeah, you don't. I don't like people sitting underneath me eating bananas.
It's good to have a rule.
It's always been a pet hate.
Good to have a rule.
Why do you think so? Rory rejected the footrest.
Can we point this out?
Was there an option for
Yes, they all had footrest. Going without wings footrest, he didn't.
Can I say, I've warmed to Rory Stewart. I think he would have been my choice. But not that I'm a member of the Conservative Party, can I point out. But
let me be absolutely clear on this.
But be absolutely clear. I think it is a shame that his real name, his first name is actually Roderick. And he's obviously thought, I can't be Rod Stewart. That will ruin my political career.
That's a good point.
So he's gone for the Rory thing. And I think I wish he'd backed himself and gone as Rod Stewart.
I like Roy Stewart, but I thought post-Tie-gate, he took his tie off and then it was discovered
Cynical.
that... You think it was cynical, do you? I think there's suggestions it was.
I think he wanted to become a trending topic, and I think he wanted to look different from them. I just wish he'd pushed it further and taken tie off, and then the jacket, and then the shirt, and then put the jacket back on. And then everybody would have definitely been talking about him for the whole week.
I felt taking that. It was a bit, you can leave your hat on. I mean, it's a bit of a weird Magic Mike. Google it, boys.
Well, there used to be a TV show called, I think, This Is Tom Jones on Sunday nights. And at the end of it, when Tom did his last couple of numbers, he used to undo his bow tie.
Oh, yeah.
And the top, and it was suggested, I'm singing now and I'm really so far into it, a tie is only restraining me. A bit like, as we all remember, I Think I'm Going to Dance Now from Kiss.
Yes. He did say, Rory, didn't he? He said, I was frustrated. That's why because Adam Bolton said to him on Sky, what was the stuff with the tie? And he said, I think I was getting pretty frustrated. I thought if I took my tie off, we could go back to a bit of reality.
Yeah, it's an interesting... he's putting a lot of faith
interesting
in
lie, that.
Yeah. Well, we don't know
I love
for
him,
sure.
but I'm not buying the tie.
I don't like the idea that he sat for a meeting with his advisors and saying, how can I win this? And they said, what about if you take your tie off? And he said, yes, of course.
Yeah. He also had his hand in his pocket, and apparently the suggestion is he copied that from Nick Clegg, because that worked for him on a debate once.
Oh.
Just imagine someone does that, studies previous debates. Get a life, to quote Frank Skinner. But he had his hand in his pocket suggesting, I suppose it's a bit, I don't know if you remember the Gratin catalogue. It was the man modelling a leather jacket with a friend, one hand pointing into the horizon.
Yeah, sometimes a pipe, an unlit pipe. If he'd gone for that, I'm in there.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, we'll never know, will we? He'll be back, I should think.
Oh, yeah.
But he needs to meet up. That's my...
Al, could you give me some tips? Maybe he could go to some grapples with you.
So look, can I... he's a bloke who I think what he should have done is, to get the trending thing, is to suddenly jump straight out of that suit. Just for the moment that it just stood on its own before it crumpled. I think he could have done that if he could have got his foot on the footrest. Just jump straight out of it like a dog out of a sack. So, can I say before I say the normal farewell, it is the birthday of that woman I choose to call my mother-in-law today, Sandy Mason. So, yes, I send her birthday greeting. She's truly a remarkable, loving, Not only interesting, but interested woman. And 108 years of age. God bless her. I'm guessing, but it's got to be up there. No, but I wish her a truly happy birthday. I'm sure we all do. And thank you for listening to us. If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.